Some of you just seriously have no chill at all. This image right here encapsulates that. Even though Stray has had a pretty solid launch with funny memes such as that one, we also have amazing articles like this coming from Kotaku, in which, again, we get the usual critique. It's no game is safe from this type of Kotaku article, unfortunately. You would think that a game that is centered around cats could just be a cat game, but unfortunately no. At least in 2022 now. Microsoft recently announced its financial results for the fourth quarter of the fiscal year 2022, and they announced that their gaming division had revenue drops of 7% year on year, and their hardware revenue down 11%. They did, however, say that Game Pass subscribers had grown, although no statistics were given for that, but this is hardly surprising considering that Microsoft just really hasn't had any huge hitting releases yet. They have a lot in development, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully Starfield is a game that brings a lot more subscribers and helps that revenue start going up. NFT Worlds, a play-to-earn platform which was building on the backbone of Minecraft, recently got a good old KO punch from the teams behind Minecraft, which is Microsoft and Mojang, which those companies publicly banned NFTs. This caused NFT Worlds to essentially collapse, and now the company is vowing to make their own Minecraft clone. In typical NFT fashion, they plan to attempt to copy what Minecraft has created, something that surely will be super easy, barely an inconvenience. EA recently announced their new Skate game is early in development, with it planned to be a live service and microtransactions that will focus on cosmetics and quote-unquote convenience. Prepare for Skate Ultimate Team, I suppose. In other EA news, the company is also beginning work on a Black Panther open-world single-player game, which is headlined by ex-Monolith Productions Vice President Kevin Steffens. As with all EA single-player games, let's just hope it ever sees the light of day. Ubisoft is enjoying absolute chaos as the company delayed recently Avatar Frontiers of Pandora to maybe next year, as the company wants to make it quote-unquote perfect. Assassin's Creed Rift, a smaller standalone Assassin's Creed game set in the Middle East with more of a focus on parkour, is reportedly falling behind and has been internally pushed back to spring of next year. Additionally, Ghost Recon Frontline, a big battle royale experience, was cancelled. Splinter Cell VR was also cancelled. Ubisoft's big holiday 2022 release, which will directly take on God of War Ragnarok, Skull and Bones, continues to suffer tragic leaks as developers once again have called the game a mess, one that they are not confident in, as they describe the gameplay as lacking depth, something that is obvious based on the game's most recent reveal. As I said, Ubisoft has some major issues right now. Eidos Montreal founder Stéphane Diastaus blasted Square Enix in a new interview, calling Square's handling of their Western studios as a train wreck in slow motion. Eidos Montreal is now owned by the Embracer Group after being sold earlier this year for a measly $300 million, along with Crystal Dynamics and their established IPs such as Deus Ex and Tomb Raider. Diastaus believing the low price was actually strategic, telling GamesIndustry.biz, "I heard rumors that Sony said that they're really interested in Square Enix Tokyo, but not the rest, thus why the Western studios were sold so quickly and for such a low price. For what it's worth, it does appear that Sony may be preparing for a big acquisition, which might just be Square Enix." Furthermore, in this interview, Diastaus makes many other accusations about Square's terrible relationship and lack of commitment to their now former Western studios. There was really a lack of leadership, courage, and communication. And when you don't have those basic things, no employee can do their job correctly, especially when you're heading a studio. I was losing hope that Square Enix Japan would bring great things to Eidos. I was losing confidence in my headquarters in London. In their annual physical reports, Japan always added one or two phrases saying we were disappointed with certain games, they didn't reach expectations, and they did that strictly for certain games that were done outside of Japan. As it stands, Diastaus left the company back in 2013, and the current Eidos Montreal is hopefully in better hands, which maybe means the revival of franchises such as Deus Ex and Legacy of Kain under Embracer. Blizzard's Diablo Immortal ban in China appears to be over as the game finally released in the region the other day. Reporting coming from Bloomberg indicates the reason for the delay was in fact because of a Weibo social media post which made a Winnie the Pooh joke about Chinese President Xi. Diablo Immortal had already been approved in the region, but the social media post called into question if a release may actually ever happen. But Diablo Immortal has now officially released in China, and the game continues to have atrocious microtransactions, with Blizzard Blizzard ignoring any and all outrage surrounding their unethical monetization. If anything, they've gone out of their way to defend it, and now they're going to be making more money than ever, as China is a major market. Really, the sole reason why this game was made was because of that specific market. The game has recently surpassed 20 million downloads and continues to suffer issues, with players recently losing millions of XP due to a bug with Immortal's Battle Pass progression system. CD Projekt Red's downward spiral has continued, with the company now surpassing 75% of their value before Cyberpunk 2077's launch now being lost. They were once the biggest company in Europe, and now they are no longer the most valuable company in Poland, as Techland has since surpassed them. They have truly collapsed, with some former and current developers wondering if the company will eventually be purchased by someone like Xbox. Obviously, market factors play into the company's value decreasing, but it has been a steady decline since December of 2020. It's just further evidence of CDPR's massive misfire before release and the failure in management. Inside of CDPR, there's still a lot of animosity with those responsible for the Cyberpunk 2077 delivered in 2020. Everyone knew the game was not ready, and here in 2022, the company is still dealing with the consequences of that decision. Next year, Cyberpunk 2077's one expansion will release, and then the focus will shift to the next Witcher game. Moving forward, there will be a lot of skepticism with everything this company does, which does call into question if they'll ever truly be able to climb out of the hole that they now find themselves in. Perhaps what was one of my most anticipated upcoming games, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic Remake for the PlayStation 5 and PC, is now maybe not happening. Earlier this year, I believe there was reports that Xbox passed on the project, and maybe we now know why, and it's because it's an absolute mess. The game's art director and design director were fired earlier this month after the development team showed a demo of the game to Lucasfilm and Sony. It appears that the issue with this KOTOR remake is the fact that it's been taking too much time and money to produce. It said that this remake has been in development for over 3 years, and while the original plan was to release the game by the end of 2022, a more realistic target is now 2025 maybe. It is currently unclear how this project will move forward. Right now it is on pause, and all I can think of is that amazing fan-made Aperion mod, which was kind of like a remake of KOTOR that was in development a couple of years ago before Lucasfilm shut it down. Well, imagine if it hadn't been shut down. Jesus. I just would love to see a KOTOR game or a Star Wars RPG, something like that, actually see the light of day. So many Star Wars projects have just been canceled over the last decade or so, and so many disappointing developments such as this one. Controversy and Naughty Dog just go together nowadays. Ever since The Last of Us Part 2, it has been just a absolute mess of sorts with this company. It seems like there's just always controversy. But it all started about a week or so ago, in which a developer responded to accusations that The Last of Us Part 1 remake was a cash grab. And he said, actually, it's the most meticulously built and crafted project that I have ever seen or been a part of in my entire career, the highest level of care and attention to detail possible. This, of course, was met to a lot of negative reactions. And say what you will about this being a cash grab or not, I personally do not think it is worth $70. And I say that as somebody who loved the Mass Effect Legendary Edition last year. I believe it was last year. And that was worth $60. I think it was $60, because you got 3 games, there was huge gameplay overhauls, and it really felt like it was worth the money. And also, again, it was 3 games that saw drastic improvements across the board. This is one game that's also going to be missing a major component of it, being the multiplayer. Overall, in this gaming industry, remasters, remakes, the pricing is everywhere. Sony just seems to always like $60 or $70, something that I personally disagree with, but I'd be a fool to say that this remake doesn't look like it has had some major overhauls, mainly to graphics, which is what the focus clearly is here. The gameplay, though, that is a different story. The situation pretty much blew up after about 6 or 7 minutes of gameplay from The Last of Us Part 1 remake leaked online, and the gameplay that was presented showed really no noticeable gameplay improvements, which spawned a lot of negative reactions online and a lot of Naughty Dog developers pretty much responding by saying on Twitter and various other social medias that they were disappointed and frustrated by these leaks. The one promise that Naughty Dog has made since the beginning with this Remake was the fact that they were rebuilding the gameplay, and I guess the expectation a lot of us had was that this was going to be just like The Last of Us Part 2, but that is clearly not the case. But Naughty Dog did respond further with a new gameplay trailer of sorts, in which the developers go over all of the improvements that they made to the gameplay experience. This did not just come out of the blue, it was not planned, this was a reaction to a lot of the negativity that the company was receiving at the time. And this new gameplay trailer right now has about 75,000 dislikes and 105,000 likes. And Last of Us controversy, divisiveness just seem to go together nowadays. As YouTuber SkillUp notes, The Last of Us Part 1 Remake overhauls facial animations, environmental art direction, enemy and companion AI, although some of that companion AI looks very rocky based on some of the footage that has leaked again. It adds 3D audio and DualSense support, as well as a bunch of industry-leading accessibility features, and as for gameplay changes, let's just be honest here, they appear to be minimal. Also, the multiplayer mode is not included in the package. I don't look at this as a cash grab. I think there's a lot here, but obviously the value of this is going to be different for everyone. Kind of wish there was an upgrade path, and that is on point with his analysis of the situation. There should be an upgrade path. If this was $30 to $40 for those who already own the remastered edition or the original copy, I think that would make a lot more sense, but it doesn't. And I feel like for those who have already been introduced into the universe and who have already played these last two games, it's just best to wait on this for maybe a number of months until the price comes down to a point in which it just makes sense. But for those who have never played The Last of Us Part 1 or Part 2, maybe this is a great entry point. I just don't think it's worth $70. And we did have another Naughty Dog developer go viral with these remarks saying, "People complain about gameplay by watching a video, but nobody actually had their hand on the controller. Having played both, there's no comparison between PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 5, and the prone would have simply broken the gameplay in the combat space as it wasn't built that way originally." So that certainly is an opinion to have, and I'll end this topic with this. It's the fact that when this project was originally greenlighted, we had leaks coming out from Sony for why it was approved and why it was happening. And you know why it got approved? It was because it was relatively low amounts of effort for Naughty Dog, and it would take in high potential for profit, because The Last of Us TV series is coming about very, very soon, and that's going to bring in a lot of new players interested in the franchise, and I'm certain that Sony does not want them paying for the $10 original PlayStation 3 edition when they can pay $70 for the new one, which again required low amounts of effort. Even though a lot of developers are probably very passionate about this, the reason why this got approved, why this is happening, is because of money, and by definition that is kind of a cash grab, especially with that price point of $70 for something that is really just receiving major overhauls in terms of the graphics, which is something that a lot of remasters in the past have done for less than $70. Oh, and by the way, these leaks that have been happening recently for Sony and Naughty Dog, it's not something that's going to be slowing down anytime soon, as reportedly there is a huge security breach within Sony that the company has yet to plug, which that means God of War Ragnarok, which is quickly approaching, there likely will be some leaks happening of that very soon. This is according to Xbox Era's Nick Baker and journalist insider Jeff Grubb. All I'll say about that is, not good at all. Depending on when this video went live, yesterday or today, the gaming community was met to a huge Grand Theft Auto 6 leak. While this leak doesn't really go over anything that's, let's just say, it's nothing that we don't know about the game, it's further confirmation of a lot of the rumors that have been going around for the last couple of years surrounding this highly anticipated upcoming game. Some of this sounds exciting, some of this sounds kinda concerning. Remember, this is the first game post Dan Houser's departure, along with a couple of other key creative figures, so it's going to be very interesting to see how all this comes together. But Bloomberg's Jason Schreier gave us a little bit more of an inside look into what this next GTA 6 game is going to be all about. And he writes that the development of Grand Theft Auto 6 has been slower than impatient fans and even longtime employees have expected, despite morale across the company being higher than ever, according to many staffers. Between the company's new direction and the 2019 departure of Dan Houser, who led creative direction on many previous games, all indications suggest GTA 6 will feel different than its predecessor. And it also starts off with this article saying that employees aren't sure it can still produce the chart-topping caliber of a game the studio has become known for. And the first big rumor that's been going on the last couple of years is of a female protagonist, and it is indeed confirmed here. There will be a playable female protagonist for the first time. The woman is Latina and will be one of a pair of leading characters in a story influenced by the bank robbers Bonnie and Clyde. Developers are also being cautious not to punch down by making jokes about marginalized groups, the people said, in contrast with previous GTA games. Now here is where issues arise, in my opinion. The Grand Theft Auto series has been severely criticized over the last decade for punching down. That's the terminology that some like to use. Now, Rockstar going in this different direction isn't really that surprising considering what we've seen the last couple of years in regards to GTA 5. They have changed lots of controversial aspects of the game. Sure, it has been minor, but it has been noticeable. I disagree with the notion that they've always been punching down. Usually, this all feeds into the satire of the experience. That's what my take has been on all of these Grand Theft Auto games. They're making fun of everything. And now it feels like they're not doing that just because of what society has turned into, and also just the fact that a lot of people may become offended by that. And that, in my opinion, is the wrong choice, as I feel that is kind of the joy of a Grand Theft Auto game. It's just making fun of everybody. That is the satire that everybody loves. And obviously the satire is going to be a big question mark with this game, just because I think it's very hard to use satire in a productive way nowadays, considering what American society has turned into. The journalist behind this reporter, Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, furthermore on Twitter said that Rockstar's removal of certain types of jokes from the most recent re-release of GTA 5 and the quiet cancellation of cops and crooks after the George Floyd protests are examples of Rockstar trying to clean up their image, and then obviously what they're going to be doing with GTA 6 will take it up a notch. How that will go down, will it be controversial? Only time will tell, but as is everything nowadays, I'm sure that this will be something that is considered divisive. Now, within this Bloomberg report, it was also mentioned a couple of other interesting things about this next GTA game. Even though many articles and outlets are reporting that the game is currently aiming for a 2024 release, well, that's actually not entirely the case. If you actually read the meat of the article, it says people interviewed for this article said that they didn't know of any firm release date, and they expect the game to be at least 2 years away. And then earlier this year, a group of designers quit Rockstar's London studio, telling colleagues they were sick of the lack of progress, which is not an encouraging development, but it has been said that this game has been in development in some sort of fashion since 2014 at least. And then this is something that, at least in my eyes, it's a little disappointing, but original plans for the title, which is codenamed Project Americas, were for it to be bigger than any GTA game to date. Early designs called for the inclusion of territories modeled after large swaths of North and South America, and I guess that vision for GTA 6 has been brought down quite a bit. But the new map for GTA 6 will be a fictionalized Miami, aka Vice City. Rockstar's plan is to continually update the game over time, adding new missions and cities on a regular basis, which leadership hopes will lead to less crunch during the game's final months. So the expectation with GTA 6 is that it's probably not going to be here until probably 2025, which is the expectation that many of us have had for quite some time. This article doesn't necessarily go over any shocking details about this game, but it confirms a lot of the rumors that we had, and also the development that they are, again, going all out of their way to clean up their image, which will, of course, be divisive with how the gaming community and just gamers in general react to this whenever it does release. But I do want to know your thoughts on these GTA 6 developments. How do you feel about a female protagonist, and what do you make of the revelation that this is only going to be taking place in Vice City, and of course the fact that this game is still a couple of years away? Let me know down in the comment section below your thoughts, but thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video or if you found any informative value, and make sure to follow my other social media accounts for updates on new videos. Links are always down in the description below. I'm most active on Twitter, giving opinions on news that I do not always get into video form, so do make sure to follow me over there. Also check out my Discord for all sorts of discussion on games. And again, thank you for joining. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.